Premiere running and rolling. I don't really have any views for this, but it's a start at least. To do a quick audio test. Mic check 1 2 3. Mic check 1 2 3. Hello, testing, testing. It should be on by now. It usually takes a while to start. I usually like to take my time when I'm making these kinds of builds, but you know, usually for the most part, I just leave it as it is. I try to do a quick reset here. Hopefully this should work. There we go. Alright, now that we have chat running, I think we should be able to get this show on the road. Alright, splendid. Welcome to the chat. We are going to start with the first build. I'm looking for something simple that I can put around my farmhouse since I haven't really gotten into doing anything exciting in my Minecraft world. Audio seems to be working quite properly right now, so we're gonna boost the audio down on my sub meter, and we'll begin the build shortly. Now, as far as I'm concerned, the only thing that I know pretty much when it comes to building is to start with odd numbers. So we're gonna start with a base of 5 blocks. We'll start with a small base. We'll start with something small. So I guess for the instance of this build, I think we do it by odd numbers. So it's going to be we'll try one build with no odd numbers, and then we'll try another build with positive numbers. But I think for the most part, when you're doing builds with a positive number, it usually ends up with a very terrible looking roof. And I guess from a certain tutorial that I watched before, for the most part, when you're making builds, when the enclosure of the foundation that you start the build on starts at like 40, or no, if it starts on a positive ending in terms of the numbering space of both the what do you call it, the X and Z axis, then you're definitely, most of the time, you're going to end up with a very terrible looking roof. So I guess for this instance, we're going to start with 7 by 7. Let's see how that looks. Or 5. 1 2 3 4 5. And then we're going to go with, so it's going to turn into an even number if I start placing the blocks here. So I'm just going to include this in account while going into the opposing axis. So I guess for the most part, we're going to go with 5. So it's going to be 5 blocks above. It's going to be a little bit higher. And then we're going to go, I think, so okay, well, we'll do 5 to 7 blocks. So let's do 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. And then we'll enclose this all the way. I already have the premise that this is a very short build for the most part. So this is 7 and 5 blocks on the median axis, which is on both sides. Another thing the tutorial mentioned was to have the roof be built first before the structure itself. So I'm thinking we'll have this be another instantiated 5 blocks. So we're going to go 1 2 3 4 and 5, and then we'll enclose this all the way just like this, like so. We're gonna keep it simple because I can't stream that long today. I still have something else to do after this. So we're gonna do 5 by 7 and do an enclosure, and then I think the tutorial said something about having the roof be built first before doing the base at the bottom. So we're gonna do that right now. Let's start with a basic stuff that I usually find in survival mode very easily. So we're gonna go with oak planks, some stairs, a little bit of oak slabs, and I guess for the accent we can go for birch. But for the most part, if we're doing this in a very simplified manner, for the most part, as a simple distinction for the color palette would make a whole of a lot more difference. So for example, when you're just doing this, I think it's already a very big difference. Or you can already see just how much of a difference it makes when you already have the base and the foundation started. It comes out a lot easier for the most part. So we'll just do an enclosure for this part here, and it's going to part very nicely once you do the enclosing part. So it's very straightforward actually. I just need a base as to how I'm going to be making stuff in my survival world, because like the thing is, I tend to overcomplicate things when I'm making stuff. It usually never turns out great every single time. So we're just gonna stick to the basics, keep it simple, that we can, you know, like, we'll start with a very attainable goal, and then we'll move on shortly with something a little bit more dramatic and, I guess, more challenging, if that's the word for it. But they did say that if you do and start to build with an odd number, see at this given example, you can see, I mean, I can really, okay, yeah, this is actually starting to work out well. I can really start to understand why they said something with, they said something about the roofing to be starting at this angle. I'm not really a big fan of the gap here. I actually want both sides of the roof to enclose properly, so I might need to enclose the gap just a little bit more. So I guess it's positive on this angle, but not on the opposing side, which is, I guess for the most part, not quite there yet. So we're just going to compress this just a little bit more. Right around this side. I think that should be enough. So we're gonna deduct one space from this build. See, the foundation is very important. Like I said, nothing too overcomplicated. The goal is to make it realistic. You're not going to be going out of your way to be doing the same builds that most YouTubers are making online. I find that very unrealistic and very absurd. I think for the average person playing the game, I think it's best to keep your, well, you know, at least for the most part, manage your expectations when you're doing a lot of things. So for the most part, we're going to cut down the base of the z-axis, which is the last axis on the XYZ coordinates. We're going to reduce that just a little bit. And you can already see just how much of a difference it makes when it comes to making the build look more efficient. I mean, it looks great because the parting sides of the roof looks a lot more efficient. Doing the bottom side of the roof now, you can see, let me just close off this part of the foundation here real quick, and there we go. And that should be it. There we go, perfect. Look at that. That already looks a whole lot better. To make this look even better, I'm going to underlay the bottom side. This is more of an experiment. I'm kind of still figuring out how this is going to turn out. But this is already a massive improvement compared to the usual builds that I do, where I just go ham with the foundation at the bottom, and then without a general structure whatsoever of what I actually want with the build, it normally doesn't look that good. But from this general perspective, it actually looks decent, at least from what I can think of. Okay, so now that we're done with this, we can finally cut down on the foundation. We can take this off, to be honest. This is for the most part, this is more or less likely just a guide on like how we're gonna be doing things, but like I'm just doing this based on memory on what I found on the YouTube tutorial I found, just from memory. At least I'd have a general consensus of how I'm gonna be making this in survival, at least for the most part. All right, now we're gonna do the base at the bottom. So we're gonna go with, what base should I use? Let's go with, I don't have any enchanted items that I can pick up wood a lot quicker, so we're gonna go with, let's see. Okay, let's just keep it simple for now. The goal here is to keep the ball rolling, at least for the most part. Let's keep this here right under at the bottom. Nice and simple, nice and simple. The moment you overcomplicate it and you don't have the brain power to actually do this, the said build, it just starts to, it burns you out basically. And if you get burnt out, then you're more or less likely to finish the build itself. All right, now that we're done with this, we're gonna cover the whole build up and do a little bit of accents, just like this. Remember what I said earlier about the uneven numbers when it comes to building your foundation? It's going to play a very important factor as to how many equal parts there are in the build to have the door be made in the center. I'll show you guys what I'll show you guys what I mean in just a second. Let me just get this sorted out so you guys can see. There we go, I think. All right, perfect. Let's set our time today again real quick. All right, so this is a very bare looking base, as you can see right now. Now notice how when we have it at a very uneven number, we can just simply get any door of our liking, and you already have a center point right here. Look at that. Massive, very big difference. And I guess for the most part, you can just dig 2x2s for your windows. You can even do the opposite. For the most part, when you're doing shillings, it's a very different thing. And then you do something with trapdoors for the instantiation of the windows. You can even do some for the top. And then we'll get some, logs up in here. And let's have this be enclosed right at the bottom side. So let's go, let's space out a little bit more. 4, 3. And yeah, just that amount. I don't need it to be too big. Let's get this cut off here just a little bit more. And then let's try to put this back just a little bit more. Let's get some rails up in here. Normal ones usually do to give the illusion of it being tied down by ropes. That's the most convincing thing I can do so far. Okay, now that we've got this set out, let's get some glass paints up in here. Normally, for a window of this scale, it would look very unnatural if you put windows on it very dramatically. But I like to start off with adding some very simple accessories like a pot. For the most part, let's get that trapdoor back in here real quick. That usually doesn't end well. Just have that here. All right, let's put this pot right here. There we go. And let's have some handles. Let me just close this down real quick. Let's get the flooring done. It's gonna look very nice with flooring. Doesn't really have a general consensus usage yet, but the point stands. It works out quite greatly. There we go. Let's find a flower. What's a nice flower we can use with this? Oak plank. It could use a really gradient blue. A nice blue. A very simple blue, even. There we go. And then we could put some... let's use a fence. Basic stuff that you can make in a crafting table that isn't too complicated to make in survival. When the more blocks you have to use to make the build in survival, that makes the whole thing just completely unbearable to look at. Simple things. There we go. I think that's okay for now. We could generally just enclose this part, but for texture, you normally could just place them even here. Oh yeah, for the most part, when you're making windows, you can even do them like this. And then you could go inside. Excuse me. Wait, let me see here. There should be a part inside. Then you could place the flower right there, just on that side. And then for the roof, you could actually, since this is at a very uneven number, you could flip portions of it to go this way. You just get rid of one part, and then you fold it inward like this. And then you do the same for the opposing side. And it encloses very, very quickly. I think you can do the same for this side as well. Just do it at the bottom. You can also do something here. You just do one in the front and a little bit one here. That encloses pretty quickly. You can do a little bit of a distinction here. Oh, bad. It's neat. And then we'll do a bit of a fold here, right about here. I got the front, that looks nice. Let's have that enclosed. And last but not surely, this part right here. Yeah, getting the stairs to work is normally the hard part. Oh, dude, this is challenging. Hang on. You just have this here at the front, just a little bit. Okay, so if you can't get the fold to happen, I guess you normally could just place a whole block and get it over with. I mean, it already shows the general detail of what the stair would look like. Oh, there we go. That worked out quite quickly. Let's just get rid of the... Actually, wait, I have a better idea for this. Let's get a fence. Oak. Let's just make good use of oak for now. I'm gonna place the fence right there. Make it look like the inside of an attic. That already looks pretty darn good. There's already an extension here, but since this part is already distended way further than I actually want it to be, we could try either flipping it on its sides like this to make it look like a windowsill, or you could make use of trapdoors, like so. And you could do the same for the back as well. but I normally don't do so. But I guess depending on what the context of your build, it would matter a lot for the most part. Let's just have this be even this side, and I guess the same thing. Doesn't really have to be the same thing. I just any kind of detail. And keep in mind, I'm just recalling all of this from memory. I'm not really that in depth, at least not yet. That would not work out quite well. I don't know. No, that would not work out. Okay, so I'll have the bottom. Okay, wait. I got a better idea. Let's just have this enclosed. Wait. Nah, that would not work out. I think that's good for now. Alright, now for texture. Let's add some... Let's do a basic pathway first. I'm thinking... let's just use cobblestone. Like this. There we go. Like that. Okay. It still looks so bare in the front. Let's add some glass. Let's see if it does any, or make any difference. I don't know. We'll find out. We're about to see what works and what doesn't work. Can I plant wildflowers? No. It can't be placed on the sides. But you can... Oh wait, no, you know what? I'll just use a rose. No, it's called a poppy, I think. Yeah, there we go. Common stuff you normally would find. Or I want to add a shimmy, but this looks way too small of a general structure to even make it work. So I think I'll just keep it at this. Could add a bit of moss. This is just miscellaneous, I guess. Oh wait, no. Probably fine. The vine. Some here at the front. Oh, I can't add some there as well. How am I going to design the back? Let's try to get a good look at the front so we can find out exactly how we're going to be designing this thing. I don't know. What's it called? A torch? Wait, where do I find the light sources? I think it's in building. I'm looking for the light sources. Perfect place to put this in. Okay, not bad. We need a slightly more natural lighting source. Alright, it's in the functional blocks. Where would the lantern be placed realistically? It would be placed somewhere that's easy to reach. Can't be placed there. Oh, no, wait. It needs a block under. Yeah, there we go. And then I'm going to make a sill. Can I place it on the side? No, you can't. Nope. It's a literal full block, I guess. Alright, sure. Why not? Let's have a ladder up in here as well. Same instance with the candle. Let's just have this here. And then we'll do looks a lot more better. It's a very nice light source. I want to put a little bit more, but this is the furthest I can go. Let's do this side. Oh, there's a ladder here. Alright. Let's just enclose that part. Enclose this by one more block. Get a fence. Lead? It's called a lead. That. We don't have a shrub, but we do have oak leaves for that. Start with cobble. there enough of a light source here in the back? Not really. Can I put a carpet on a trapdoor? Oh, no, you can. Okay, I got an idea. What if I use a sign? Okay. Look a little bit more to the front. And some other stuff. Oh, not bad.